We were in a committed relationship, or at least I was under the impression that we were. We were young, but I am still uncertain as to whether I was the secondary partner or the primary one, or indeed what our relationship status was. One day, she requested that I respond to a text message from her friend on her phone while I was doing so. She then received several messages from two other individuals. As she had specifically instructed me to answer the initial text, I decided to respond to the others as well. She was preparing to leave with me and had already left the house. Her mobile phone was situated adjacent to mine as she completed her preparations for our scheduled date. One individual, who had recently been released from incarceration, was sending her messages. As I perused their content, I ascertained that she was engaging in a relationship with him in addition to me, but she never mentioned me. I made the connection and realized that whenever she was unable to see him, she would claim to be occupied with work, when in fact she was with me. This pattern had been ongoing for several months. Furthermore, I also discovered that when she informed me that she was delayed, even though we were not engaged in any activity, she was, in fact, with this individual. I discovered that she was engaging in an extramarital relationship with this individual. While this may appear invasive, I typically monitor the behavior of my partner to anticipate potential challenges and to ensure I am available to provide support when needed. I took screenshots of approximately 2 months' worth of text messages and sent them to myself to preserve evidence. I retained 2 months' worth of text messages and sent them to myself, taking care to ensure that she remained unaware of my actions. I deleted the screenshots I had sent to myself, creating the impression that I had not sent any messages at all. Furthermore, I neglected to mark the messages as unread, thereby preventing her from discerning that I had indeed seen them. I have conveyed different versions of this account, omitting numerous details. However, this is essentially the complete narrative. We proceeded with the planned date, and approximately a week later, when I anticipated her being occupied, I visited her parents to inform them of the circumstances and that I would no longer be pursuing a relationship with her. Despite her being unaware of this, I caused them considerable distress and they expressed their displeasure at my decision to end the relationship through them. Nevertheless, they eventually became sufficiently composed to engage in dialogue with me, during which I elucidated the circumstances in great detail. I had discovered the reason for showing them the screenshots I had taken a week ago and suggested they examine her phone to ascertain whether there was further information they were unaware of. I provided a detailed account of my knowledge of the individual with whom she was involved and highlighted the reasons why the situation would not be beneficial for her. They did not accept my account, or perhaps they were reluctant to believe that their daughter could behave in such a way towards a kind individual like myself. They expressed resentment towards me for a period of time and the atmosphere became noticeably strained. I therefore terminated the conversation and departed from their residence. I did not reflect on the incident further, but several months later, I encountered them in my checkout line. They offered a profound apology for the events that had transpired. They provided me with a detailed account of the circumstances that had unfolded since that night. I revealed the truth about their daughter. It transpired that they had discovered that she was romantically involved with at least 6 other individuals and had plans to elope with someone else. Just a few weeks after I shared my findings with them, she eventually did elope with a different man, who was not the same individual with whom she had been intending to flee. The young woman in question had been intending to run away with a man she had been seeing, who was also a criminal. However, she became pregnant as a result of her relationship with him. When he left her, she was left without a partner and without a home. Eventually, her parents allowed her to return to live with them on the condition that she would take care of the child, find employment and not have another child until she was married. However, she did not seek employment and instead allowed her parents to care for the child while she either searched for work or did not work at all. She was unable to secure employment or attend work, and subsequently became pregnant with twins from the man she had originally planned to run away with. Her parents were exasperated by her behavior and removed her from the family home, providing her with financial assistance to find her own accommodation and vehicle. However, she was unable to maintain consistent employment due to her lack of motivation and reliability, frequently failing to attend shifts, arriving late and violating company rules. Eventually, she lost her apartment and moved in with the second baby's father, but he subsequently terminated the relationship. She was subsequently evicted after she made false accusations of mistreatment against him, despite her refusal to file a report or take appropriate action. It subsequently emerged that the mistreatment had never occurred, as he had a robust alibi from work and multiple cameras on the other side of the state. She was left with her car and children and subsequently took up residence with a former acquaintance of mine a few months later while he was overseas and at work, which was corroborated by cameras and receipts. He was granted a restraining order and was compelled to leave as he was forced to leave his own house due to a false accusation of mistreatment. Eventually, the truth emerged and he was proven innocent. However, his reputation suffered significant damage. In contrast, the woman in question was compelled to return to her parents' house due to her inability to secure sufficient employment. The relationship was characterized by chaos and dysfunction. My own small victory was to extricate myself from that situation and even play a role in getting her evicted from the house at least once, just a couple of years ago. She subsequently reached out to me, hoping despite my attempts at reconciliation, she lashed out at me with a volley of insults, accusing me of abandoning my children. This was despite her refusal to undergo a DNA test to prove their parentage, which, as it transpired, they were not. I had no children of my own. She portrayed me as a malevolent individual, and I sought to expose her true character to the wider world. The most distressing aspect of this ordeal was that it concluded shortly before my grandfather's demise, which occurred around 3 months prior. Consequently, I found myself bearing responsibility for the following March's memorial service. Throughout this period, I was responsible for organizing the memorial service. There was no contact between us since our fight, which occurred about 3 weeks after our breakup. As mentioned in the next section, she unexpectedly showed up. If you guessed she would, you would be correct. After I had already spoken and others had taken over, I found myself sitting alone in the church hallway on the steps where my grandpa had fallen and broken his arm. I tried to calm myself by rocking back and forth, attempting to gather my thoughts. I attempted to maintain my composure for the final part of the service, but I was unsuccessful. Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down onto my blazer. The weight of the day made it challenging for me to speak as I was saying goodbye to the man who shaped me into who I am today. He was a significant figure in my life, providing guidance and support through various challenges. He held my secrets and was the person I relied on the most. At that moment, she showed up and began berating me for not inviting her to the service. She insisted that my absence revealed my true nature as a terrible person and proceeded to offer her own criticism. I was refused any contact with her or any engagement with her in any way. It is astonishing that this woman had the audacity to show up at the service, despite my explicit intention not to invite her because of her reprehensible character. She then had the audacity to confront me after our acrimonious relationship and the deterioration in our relationship on that very day. However, the situation became even more untenable when she caused a disturbance during the service and was escorted out by 2 police officers. She was shouting at them, claiming that she had the right to be there because she loved my grandpa and was a part of his life. She refused to leave and had decided not to press charges, only having her removed. However, in retrospect, I believe that I should have pressed charges, as it would have resulted in her imprisonment and the prevention of further suffering on the part of others. Nevertheless, I did ultimately exact my revenge. Our relationship deteriorated significantly following our final argument, during which she began lying to me about various matters. I did not pursue this at the time. At an earlier point in time, I began to discern her untruths, particularly when she asserted that she no longer wished to interact with me. Given that we did not engage in daily contact since I commenced my undergraduate studies, this was not a frequent occurrence. However, during the aforementioned altercation, she unleashed a volley of expletives and accusations, portraying me as an individual of reprehensible character. I was unable to tolerate this behavior for an extended period and promptly departed from the scene, returning to my place of residence after a few minutes. Music is second story. I could compose a detailed account of this incident, but I am currently inebriated and disinclined to do so. My girlfriend was previously a highly agreeable individual. However, following her enrollment at the university and a subsequent affiliation with a sorority, she began to engage in excessive partying. It is not uncommon for individuals to exhibit a degree of recklessness during this period of their lives. I had a friend from secondary school who was enthusiastic about gaming. We would frequently engage in risky behaviors and gambling activities related to CS/GO. It is worth noting that I consistently lost these games. He was an admirable individual with a kind heart. Interestingly, he eventually attended the same university as my former girlfriend. On a random night of partying, my friend observed my former girlfriend. My girlfriend was observed entering a bathroom with an unidentified male at the social gathering. According to the informant, the pair remained within the premises for a minimum of 20 minutes, which is inconsistent with the engagement in a conventional pastime such as Scrabble. I have absolute confidence in the veracity of this account, as the informant is a reliable individual. The following day, he contacted me to provide a comprehensive account of the incident. Throughout our conversation, he expressed continuous apologies. I was visibly distressed, as I had an intuitive understanding of the truth. I thanked him for disclosing this information and requested that he refrain from making any further disclosures. Let us now skip forward 5 months to the time when my former girlfriend, my girlfriend's mother, had recently finalized her divorce. At this point, I had not confronted my ex-partner about her infidelity. I acknowledged that I was superficial and attracted to her physical appearance and adventurous nature. I recognized that this was an irrational and foolish decision. One weekend, my ex-partner's mother was out socializing with her friends, who enjoyed wine. We were all drinking at their house and became quite intoxicated. My ex-partner, I was particularly fond of smoking, and I also smoke frequently. However, these situations evoke a different response in me. Instead of fostering social interaction, they prompt me to seek solitude. Consequently, I tend to avoid such gatherings. My ex-partner proceeded to consume 4 consecutive cigarettes, resulting in a profound state of intoxication. She rose from her seat and appeared to be experiencing visual impairment. She then announced her intention to retire to bed and proceeded upstairs. At this juncture, I am situated in the house that was awarded to me in the divorce settlement. I am inebriated and at ease, enjoying myself immensely. I continue to sip my beverage and switch on HBO, opting for the popular series Entourage. I suddenly hear the door open with a resounding slam, and it is my ex's mother. My ex's mother has always been quite affable and not particularly attractive, perhaps a 6 on the scale of attractiveness. I would rate her a 5 out of 10, but she was enjoyable company. She was always amenable to socializing and having a good time. I am currently watching Entourage from the sofa. I raise my glass to her and say, "What's up?" I have always been adept at interacting with parents. I crack jokes and am polite. She is lively and says, "Hey Johnny, you're here." I laugh and say, "Yeah, your daughter's asleep." She sits down next to me and enthusiastically asks how my night in is. She speaks in a way that is both loud and emphasizes how drunk she is. I tell her. Her daughter and I were drinking, and she became tired and went to bed. She laughed and jokingly said, "If you touch my tequila, I'll destroy you both." I chuckled and raised my glass, acknowledging the whiskey that was in it, probably leftovers from my. She rises from the couch, retrieves the tequila, and returns to the couch, stating that it is only 1 a.m. and that her cycling class is not scheduled until 1 p.m. She then encourages us to continue drinking. At this juncture, I find myself in a state of internal conflict, torn between 2 opposing forces. On the one hand, I am presented with the image of an angelic figure, while on the other, I am confronted with the devilish aspect of my own nature. My ex-partner was unfaithful to me. I was aware that her mother would be willing to engage in sexual intercourse with me, but I was nevertheless venturing into uncharted territory. I trusted my instincts and proceeded to engage in a series of discussions with her, during which we consumed approximately 6 rounds of tequila. By the time we had finished the bottle, I was severely intoxicated. However, I perceived this as retribution for my ex-partner's unfaithfulness. In summary, we consumed the entire bottle and I experienced sexual climax on 2 occasions. I subsequently terminated my relationship with my ex-partner 3 weeks later. I did not seek further contact with the mother, but I departed from the house with a sense of vindication. My current girlfriend is 41 years old and I am 31. We have been in a relationship for slightly over 2 years. When we first became involved, we were both recuperating from unsatisfactory relationships and had been enjoying the single life for a period of time. I will not provide a detailed account of the deficiencies of my former partner, but I will say that her former partner will henceforth be referred to as X. He was disrespectful, substance-dependent, and unemployed. He treated her poorly, both emotionally and physically. He had a detrimental impact on her self-esteem. Despite her physical beauty, he was, in essence, a mediocre individual. Nevertheless, they had a child together, a topic that will be discussed in greater detail later on. Following my divorce, I was able to recuperate and achieve a sense of stability and well-being. Over time, I have been able to navigate life's challenges with a sense of confidence and control. I am now in a position where I can assert that I have a well-structured and fulfilling life. I would like to share the story of this remarkable woman I met. From the moment I laid eyes on her, I was immediately drawn to her beauty. On our first night together, I could sense that she would bring a new level of excitement into my life. Life took on a positive trajectory. I rapidly developed profound feelings for her, and she reciprocated my sentiments. We became inseparable, relishing the honeymoon phase, embracing life to its fullest, and forming an intense connection. We shared multiple moments of closeness daily, creating cherished memories and forging a profound bond. I provided her with the security she needed, purchasing a spacious residence for us to live in, taking her out on frequent dates, planning exceptional vacations, and showering her with gifts and affection. However, what matters most is that I have treated her with respect, love, and loyalty throughout our relationship. From the outset, I was aware that she held strong feelings for her former partner. I was cognizant of the fact that she had once been deeply in love with him. Initially, I was not concerned by this, but as time progressed, I began to observe that he still exerted a significant influence over her. He had the capacity to alter her mood and behavior, and he was capable of provoking a strong emotional response in her. This has led me to question the nature of their past relationship and our own. They have a daughter together, whom I hold in high regard, and therefore he will always be a part of her life. Despite their frequent disagreements, communication between the couple is essential. My girlfriend has never given me any reason to doubt her trust. She does not conceal her phone and keeps me updated on her daily activities. She is always home when I return, and we can even track each other's location. This is her idea, not mine, but I am comfortable with it. There is no reason to believe that anything untoward is occurring. We have not spent a night apart for 2 years, until approximately 2 weeks ago. Since then, I have noticed that she has been acting much friendlier towards her ex. She does not mind talking to him. In front of me, they have been interacting amicably, with her even going to his place for the child exchange. This would not typically be a cause for concern, however, there has been a noticeable shift in her demeanor towards me. We engage in frequent disagreements and arguments over inconsequential matters. Our intimate relationship has also been adversely affected, and the emotional connection between us has diminished. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we had a significant disagreement. She went out with friends after work and consumed a substantial amount of tequila. Upon returning home at approximately 11:30 p.m., she was visibly intoxicated and began verbally abusing me. The disagreement escalated into a major. In her inebriated state, she made the decision to leave. I was concerned about her ability to drive safely in that condition, so I began contacting her frequently in an attempt to persuade her to stop and return home. However, she was unresponsive to my requests, so I accessed her location and discovered that she was at her parents' residence. I assumed that she was unharmed, so I retired for the night. However, I was unable to sleep. At approximately 4 a.m., I accessed her location again and discovered that she had disabled the feature. This immediately raised my concern, so I promptly arose, dressed, and began searching for her. Just as I was about to leave, upon arriving at the residence, I observed that the individual in question was visibly intoxicated. Given the circumstances, I inquired about her whereabouts. She proceeded to climb into bed and attempt to engage in physical contact with me, ultimately succumbing to sleep. While I typically refrain from prying into my partner's personal affairs, I felt compelled to ascertain the reason for her behavior. I accessed her phone to ascertain what she had been consuming throughout the night. My investigation yielded minimal information, apart from an incoming call from an unidentified number just before she arrived home at 4 a.m. She proceeded to engage in a conversation with this individual. I elected to defer further discussion until the following day, in the hope that I would be in a more composed state of mind and she would be in a more sober condition when I confronted her. She was adamant that she did not remember who it was and was insistent that she had gone to a girlfriend's house, so let us move on to the other incident. My former partner called me in a state of extreme intoxication and began to divulge information. It would appear that she also visited his house that night in a similarly inebriated state. They engaged in a series of intense emotional interactions, including laughter, tears and kissing. He was able to provide precise details regarding her arrival time, which he stated was around midnight, shortly after she departed from our place. She then returned at approximately 3:30 a.m. Subsequently, she became visibly emotional, got dressed and departed. He did not refrain from disclosing the details to me. My predicament is as follows: I am typically the type of individual who merely observes and allows events to unfold. However, on this occasion, I confronted her about the matter. She has been unwavering in her assertion that none of it occurred. She gazed at me directly, tears streaming down her face. She denied going to his house, stating that she was at her friend's residence. She has maintained this account consistently. My inclination is to believe her, given my familiarity with her and my perception that she would not deliberately mislead me while looking me in the eye. However, her ex-partner is known for his dishonesty, which raises questions about her veracity. Upon reflection, her account and his do not align. It appears that she was unfaithful to me by engaging in an intimate relationship with her former partner. I am deeply in love with this woman, yet I am uncertain and conflicted. I have been unquestionably faithful to her. The majority of respondents expressed similar sentiments. Your responses instilled in me the courage and confidence to confront this situation. It is imperative to obtain the truth regarding this situation. I required impartial opinions from other individuals, and you all provided them. It is often more straightforward to perceive the broader context when one is not directly involved in the situation. This is why I sought advice here today, after reading several of the responses. I simply looked at her and said, "I know." She immediately began to cry. Initially, she vehemently denied the allegations and even became angry with me. However, I remained logical and did not allow my emotions to impede the pursuit of the truth. I informed her of the unfortunate circumstances that had led to our current situation and that I had not initiated any of it. Finally, I told her that we could not move forward until she confessed to what had transpired. I made it clear that I would never be able to move on from this situation without proof of some kind. I also stated that it takes an evil individual to cheat and then blatantly lie about it. I made it clear that it should be my decision whether I wanted to continue the relationship or not. This seemed to break her. She finally admitted that she had gone to his house that night. She insists that this is the truth. The fact that no physical contact occurred between them is implausible but ultimately irrelevant. She breached the trust one placed in her and lied to my face about it. The promises she made to me, including those regarding our future together and her desire to avoid hurting me, were clearly not meant to be kept. She looked me in the eye and swore on everything she held dear that she was telling the truth. She stated that she had gone to his house and that she had been at her friend's residence that night. I am more troubled by the callous falsehood she subsequently told me than by the fact that she had been unfaithful. I have terminated the relationship and feel positive about my decision, given the betrayal I experienced. The uncertainty was the primary source of distress. I have allowed her some time to address her personal issues. Furthermore, I have requested that she vacate the residence due to the presence of her child. Fortunately, as some of you have noted, I do not have any financial obligations to her. All financial matters are in my name. Therefore, I am not as financially vulnerable as I could have been. I believe that the key takeaway for anyone reading this in the future is to never let emotions cloud judgment or prevent you from reaching reasonable conclusions. Thank you all once again.